The ones I haven't been to. Joining me on the Power Hour today are Blackie Lawless and Chris Holmes from W.A.S.P. Certainly two of the tallest men in rock and probably two of the most controversial as well.
The biggest rock and roll band in the world.
That's right. Blackie,
literally.
Chris, welcome along to the studio. Do you consider yourselves to be controversial figures?
I was telling somebody earlier today, we did a single about a year and a half ago called Animal.
It wasn't just called Animal, there was other
well, I
can
can say it. I can say the whole thing on here if you'd like, you know.
No, we can't say it here, but it was something like a beast.
Yeah, right. Something like a beast. And I remember telling him about when it first was banned in England, and he looks at me and he goes, "What's the big deal?" You know, I mean, that pretty much says it. I mean, if we were as smart as people give us credit for, calculating things getting banned and the controversy, we'd probably rule the world, which we may end up doing before it's all over. But you can't plan all that stuff. I mean, the whole thing was designed to be controversial from the beginning, but you can't build in a lot of the extra things that go along with it. I mean, there was no way that we could have planned that the Catholic Church would have followed us all around England last year, buy tickets to the shows and come in and pray while we're playing. I mean, maybe they were praying for us to get better. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. You can't plan things like the PMRC in America, which is the whole thing about censorship, where they've gone on every major television channel, radio station in America, held up copies of our records, telling fans not to buy it, and in turn it ends up selling 10 times as many records as it did before. You just can't plan things like that. It's great when it does happen, but no one has a crystal ball that can look into the future and tell exactly what's going to happen. It's like the name. We chose a name that was controversial, so we put periods behind it. And we did that with the idea in mind that it would be very individualistic, so everyone would have an idea what they think it means. I mean, I've got different ideas of what I think the name means. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell anybody.
It has been suggested that we are sexual perverts.
That's been suggested many times on many different occasions, and I'm sure we are, but that's not what it means. The name means to me.
Well, what does it mean to you and to you?
I can't really say, because I don't like the idea of divulging the mystery. You know, it's like a marriage. If you don't have any intrigue, you don't have any, or without the mystery, you don't have any intrigue. And I don't want to become boring to myself, much less anybody else. So maybe one day I'll tell you, but not now.
I think it's fair to say that your career in the music industry, the pair of you, has been fairly controversial from the word go.
Oh, yeah,
the previous outfit you were in was...
What have we done?
I don't know.
Well, there was us.
I mean, we look like insurance salesmen.
Right. I'm a dental floss salesman.
That's right.
That's what I thought.
From Wyoming.
There was a previous outfit called Sister, which the pair of you were in, also based in Los Angeles, like
we used to wear nuns' outfits, and we were sisters, right?
Well, that wasn't
ain't
quite
had
right.
none, ain't gonna get none,
We had the front of our trousers cut out.
That's
man.
right. That's why we couldn't get many gigs. See, we've learned. It's called evolution, you know. We've gone to the back now instead of the front.
What were some of the things that Sister used to get up to on stage? It's quite a legend in Los Angeles, that particular band.
I used to set myself on fire.
Eat worms.
And those one-night stands got to be real hell after a while. I mean, you know, I hurt myself several times.
Where did you set yourself on fire? The whole
from
body?
From the legs up,
yeah.
You know, I mean, from the feet up, shall I say.
Did you cover yourself with some kind of turpentine
Yeah,
gel
my outfit. You know, and a couple of times. One night I got mad at a club owner one night, and I took some gasoline out on stage in a beer bottle, and I was going to set the stage on fire because they really screwed us around over some money. And I put it up underneath the drum riser, and the vibration from the bass equipment turned the bottle over during the course of the evening, and it had spread onto the floor, and I didn't know it. When I went to set myself on fire, I was standing right in the middle of the gasoline. So that was a real hot show. Crispy critters. Oh, yeah, we used to use this flare gun in the show. I forgot about that. Where I used to take this dummy and I'd shoot the dummy. It was him, actually. So
that was all right.
Right. Well, it bounced off one night and went in the audience, and we damn near burnt down the Whiskey A Go-Go one night.
Oh, really?
Yes, come real close to being history. Before it was, eventually, anyway. But, yeah, we used to do all kinds of things. We were doing things to entertain ourselves. But the difference between that band and this band is that we didn't have the material that we have now as far as songs. I mean, that's ultimately the biggest difference. I mean, a lot of people have the misconception that Image sells the records. Image sells tickets to concerts. Music sells records. The two do not cross over at all. And anybody that believes that doesn't know anything about the music business.
Right. And speaking of music, you're in Europe at the moment on a promotional tour to back up the release of your second album, The Last Command.
Last Command.
Now, from what I've heard of that record, it's different to the first one in that it's far more sophisticated. The first one had plenty of energy, but this one has got a lot more depth to it, I think.
I think this one has energy as well as the first one. It's just the things that we've added on to this one that might appear to take away from the energy. I mean, I played like 14 different instruments on this album. I played a sitar on one track. There's synthesizers all over it. I think 99 out of 100 heavy rock groups, if you told them you wanted to use a synthesizer, they'd throw you out of the studio. But we did it where we layered the sounds together with a guitar, so it adds dimension to the guitars. It sounds like a distant cousin to a guitar on the record. You're going to hear this record, and you're not going to hear any synthesizers on it, but you're going to feel it, and that's what it's designed to do. We wanted to use a lot of imagination on this record, where it was like old radio, so when you listen to it, you close your eyes and your imagination starts to wander, and you hear all kinds of little things all over it. I like that approach. And so therefore, I think those things are distracting away from the energy level overall. I mean, we have one song called Ball Crusher on there. I don't think that song has any lack of energy that we had done on the first album as far as in comparison. You know, it ranks right up there with the best of them. So I think what you have here is a situation where people, like when they come to see the show, he's got a friend of his that he asked him one night, then he'd seen us in L.A. when we first started. He goes, "What'd you think of the music?" He says, "Oh, it's great." He says, "What'd you think of the show?" No, that's not what it was. Excuse me. He goes, "What'd you think of the show?" Tell the story.
We were driving, leaving the show. We were going to go to, well, we always used to have after parties.
That's before we started working for a living.
And so we're going to the party, and I says, you know, I'm into the music, too. And I go, well, how's the show? And he goes, it was great. I go, well, how did the music sound? And he goes, what music? You know?
You didn't hear what we had played. So what you have here is a similar situation to that, where people are watching more than they're listening, and now we've given them an overabundance of something to listen to, and now we're distracting them in another way. 5 years from now, you'll listen to this album and you'll hear things that you never heard before. But that's good, because I'd rather have it dimensional than black and white and nothing in the middle, where like you listen to it for a while, it sounds great, and then 6 weeks from now you don't ever want to hear it again. I'd rather have it like that, where it takes a while for it to grow in you.
Okay, you've already mentioned the track Ball Crusher, which is one of the more basic cuts, I guess. Let's talk about some others. The first single is Blind in Texas. Does that tell a true story? It's quite an interesting song.
I don't know. If you listen to the words of the song, I mean, how can we tell if it's true or not? Because we were out of it when it happened.
How do you remember it?
How do you remember what really happened? I mean, the expression blind in America means getting drunk or loaded to the point where you can't really stand properly. Yeah. That's putting it mildly. So I doubt very seriously, because it is something that happened when we were on tour in Texas. We spent 3 days down there where we had a good time, and we kept on having a good time, and for several days after that we were feeling the residual effects. So I doubt it very seriously if we could give you an accurate, detailed account of everything that happens. The only thing I remember when I wrote the lyrics is what happened just about the time the evening started on all 3 evenings. So what went on later on. I do remember the one part where there's a line in the song that goes, "I fell on the floor." What I said is, I remember doing that because I was sitting on a stool and I went to turn. It was one of those swiveling stools, and the thing went around like 1.5 times and threw me off, and I ended up on the floor. I was looking around and, wow, what happened?
I think it must be the only song written that mentions the town of Waco in Texas.
Well, that's a whole nother story that I really can't go into right now. We were on tour with Iron Maiden, and it was something that happened with me and the tour manager from Iron Maiden and some of the local females down there. So I just threw that in there for memorabilia. Only we know what it means.
Let's move on swiftly to another track.
Okay.
The last track on side one, which is called Widowmaker. Now that's quite a sophisticated track. Well, that's the one you play sitar on, isn't it?
That's the one I play the sitar on. What that is, one of the problems that I see in heavy rock right now, I don't know if it's a real problem or not, but I think a subject that's being done to death is a lot of the occult influence that's in rock, and you can call it black metal or whatever you want to. Him and I, when we had this band Sister, it was a very occult-oriented band. This is before anybody had done that. We used a pentagram as a logo. No one had ever done that before. I mean, we did a lot of things in that band that you're seeing other groups do now that had influenced California a lot, as far as like a lot of the metal bands that came out of California later.
Well, a band like Motley Crue now have the pentagram as their logo.
Well, I don't really want to start mentioning names, but yes, that is true. So what we did is we did a lot of things that we got bored with eventually, and we decided, see, I was studying the occult at the time, and I ended up determining that it's not really what I wanted it to be or what I was looking for, so I moved on to other things. And we started this band, But one of the things I wanted to do with this song was to show people that you don't have to sit up and sing about devil worship to create a true piece of macabre artwork, which is what this is. I mean, this song is like a horror story, and it has nothing to do with the devil or anything like that. I like to think of it in a pure form, something like would be equivalent to maybe an Edgar Allan Poe or something like that. And it has nothing to do with demons or any of that other stuff. It's macabre in the purest sense.
So is this song going to now form part of the new stage show?
Absolutely.
And when can we expect to see W.A.S.P on tour next?
Probably spring of '86. Maybe a little bit sooner, but I'll tell you spring because that's the worst possible situation.
But you'll be touring in America previous to that?
We start in America on December 1st, and we go to Japan, and then we come back to Europe after that. And what we've done is, like last year, we started in Europe first, then Japan, then America. So every other year, we will alternate wherever we start.
Yeah. So when you tour America, will you be headlining or will you be going out supporting?
Well, we wanted to go out and support. I mean, we spoke a few weeks ago, and I thought we were going to support at that point. The problem is we can't find anybody that'll play with us. And, or shall I say, we can't find anybody that'll let us play with them. So we've got kind of a real dilemma there. It's a nice dilemma, but it's a dilemma nonetheless. So we have to go out and headline this tour. So we wanted to go, probably what's going to have to happen in America is we wanted to support in 15,000 seaters. We're going to have to go out and do probably about 5,000, 6,000 our own this time. So what we've already planned to do because of this situation is we'll do America, Japan, Europe, and then we'll go back and make another pass of America, and we'll do 10,000, 12,000 seaters then.